Okay, as soon as that's 6 o'clock, should we start? Can we start 1 minute early? It's gotta be.
Start late, you can't start. Plainly on that. Yeah, that's probably not the atomic clock, is it? There you go.
Okay, we would like to welcome everyone to our South Weber City Council meeting this evening. It's August the 9th, 2022, and it is 6 p.m. And we would begin tonight then with the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilman Solquist and a prayer by Councilwoman Alberts.
Please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we are so very grateful to be able to be gathered this evening as the city council and the staff and the citizens of this beautiful city that we are able to live in. We pray for that guidance to be with us as we discuss property taxes and pray that thy spirit will be with us, that we will be able to listen to any concerns that have been brought us and ponder on any solutions that we may be able to find. We are grateful, Father, for all of our emergency personnel, and ask that thou will watch over and protect them and keep them safe, and that they will know of our gratitude for the service they get to our city, and pray that all of our residents will be able to find safety and all is well at home, and we'll go forward in safety and we say thanks in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Okay, this evening we've got one item on the agenda, and that is a public hearing for our truth in taxation. How we'll handle this is we'll open the public hearing. We'll first turn some time to Trevor, who will explain our taxes for this year. And then after he's finished, we'll open it up for the public to make comments. So looking for a motion to open the public hearing. Have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, Trevor, we'll turn some time to you.
Okay. Mayor and council, we are having a public hearing tonight to discuss the FY 2023 tax rate. FY 22's tax rate was 0.001522. When we were in the original budgeting process, we initially had budget estimates holding that rate at the 0.001522. But as reports came back from the county stating that our housing prices increased by 36%, housing values increased by 36% in the city. It is the highest increase in the county among the cities. We took a look at what that rate needed to be to account for some inflationary costs, but not recoup the entire amount of the rate at that point. So the council in June proposed a tax rate of 0.001273. This is higher than the county's proposed tax rate of 0.001158. The county's proposed tax rate takes into account of the current values of the home and places that tax rate at a rate that will approximately give the same exact revenue streams to the city. Because we're in because we're wanting to increase that rate to 0.001273, and we'll be recouping more revenue because of that tax rate. We're required by law to have this public hearing and for the truth in taxation. That 0.001273 rate is about very close to 10% more than the county rate. And so we accounted for a 10% inflationary cost recoupment in our budget. So when we're looking at the overall budget, what that goes to is really essentially those inflationary costs of doing business, and nothing additional on top of that. So what this means for the average home owner, the county says our average home value is $560,000. So if your home is worth that, then you would be responsible for an additional $35.42 per year. That's approximately $2.96 per month for your increase there. Obviously, the commercial users would be responsible for more than that because they're responsible for 100% of their property tax rate, and that would put it at about 64, I believe. Let me double check on that number.
$64.40.
Yep, $64.40 per year. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Trevor. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. If anyone has got any comments, would you please step up to the microphone and state your name, your address. You're gonna do, I guess we have to do temporarily. Well, yes, please state your name and your address. Hold your comments to 3 minutes or less, and please direct the entire council. Council will not respond. So we're open for public comments.
Michael Grant, 2622 Deer Run Drive, South Weaver. I know we as a city have to meet the expenses, ongoing expenses for the maintenance. Of course, we have to keep up with the inflationary cost. We don't have much in the coffers anyway. We don't have a whole bunch of revenue streams for the city. And we have maintenance cost. We have talked about this in the past, so I totally understand the need to increase our tax rate. Just want to reiterate here that we need to be mindful of our expenses. I know we are all watching expenses more than ever before, but if we keep putting up too many houses per acre, we have 2 or 3 or 4 developments coming up in the city. So that adds to the cost of roads, infrastructure, water, policing. Eventually, I think it's a wash. Maybe even we are at a loss. Sure, in the beginning, it seems that we are going to collect impact fees. Eventually, when we are filled out, built to capacity, we will have the expenses and not the impact fee. So the revenue stream is going to dry out. It's almost like keep the city small. Don't build too many houses. Don't go for anything more than R7. Like Paul property is in the making, and fly under the radar. And that's how I think we can manage with without going up too much on the taxes. But I totally understand why we are going up on the taxes this time around. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else?
Hey,
You're up.
that's 3 minutes, right? I'm probably not gonna hit it, but
You're okay.
You're okay.
You're fine.
it's not gonna take that long. At least you better hope it doesn't. My name is Jason Nelson. I live at 2378 East, 7875 South, on the east side of the city. I just ultimately want to voice opposition to increasing our property taxes at a time where, aside from other things, we're going, from what it sounds like, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we're going beyond what the county has recommended. Additionally, we had property taxes increases. I believe it was via the county last year. I know my mortgage and that went up for a couple different reasons, but we got dinged by the county again last year. Additionally, as he mentioned, we're building more homes than we ever have. We have high density housing units. We have several developments. In theory, it seems that the city is pulling in more or as much or more revenue than it ever has. In addition to additional commercial developments that are underway right now, being built again on the east side of the city, close to the Maverick and the other commercial developments. So again, it seems like we should be taking in more money than we ever have. There will be new property taxes coming in from new developments which seemingly should offset the additional cost of housing or having those people in the city, wear and tear, all of those kinds of things. So, and additionally, in a time where inflation is killing us all, expenses are killing us all, our dollars are worth personally less than they ever have. I'm trying to figure out why exactly the city needs more revenue. They need more of our money, which is the citizens' money, than they do already now. What's the exact reason that the city feels like it needs more of our money when we need it more than we do, or more than we ever have?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? Council, anyone like to make any comments or?
Do we need to close the public hearing?
Want to close it first?
I'll make a motion to close
Okay,
the
we'll
public
make a-
hearing.
Okay, we'll close.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any responses or any questions? Council?
Yeah, Mayor, if you allow me, I'd like to just do a simple property tax 101. I may be oversimplifying it, but it's something I didn't understand until I got in to city government and realized that the county proposed tax maintains our tax amount. It doesn't account for inflation. And our city did that for more than 3 decades. And that meant that if the city was getting, I'll just do simple numbers, if the city was getting $100,000, then every year we got $100,000 for 35 years. Well, the cost to maintain those roads and the infrastructure went up, but we were only getting from the property taxes the 100,000. And so the way it works in real life outside of government is inflation goes up, your salary goes up, et cetera, in proportion. The city, or excuse me, the government approach to taxation is you can't increase the tax without letting people know. And so in order for us to account for inflation, we have to change that tax rate so that we can account for the increased cost of infrastructure. So those are the 2 main options we have. We can either keep the same tax, which means our rate number changes so that our total amount coming in is the same as it was last year. Now we do get more every time there's a new development coming in, a new property, a new resident, a new commercial, and that kind of helps us stay ahead of the game. But as was mentioned by Mr. Grant, eventually that runs out and we don't have that money coming in. So if we don't maintain our rate, meaning we don't keep up with inflation, then that money has to come from somewhere else and we have to tax elsewhere. The other option, which we decided upon previously as a council, was to maintain the tax rate so that it goes up with inflation. And that way we would then maintain the infrastructure that we need. The problem that came this year was our property taxes went up 34%, 36%, whatever it was. And that would be an unreasonable amount for us to maintain the tax rate, because that would be potentially a temporary increase, and we'd be getting a lot more money than is really needed for the quote unquote 10% inflation that is going on right now. So we decided to reduce the rate that we had originally agreed upon to take in less money. And so the total was $50 some odd extra per household on average for the entire year. although everybody's property taxes have gone up a lot more, and that's because there are a whole bunch of other entities in the county that are pulling money from our property taxes. So even though our amount for the city is only go up in a minor amount, unfortunately, the total county amount is going up. And we'd encourage our citizens to be aware of that and attend those hearings when there's other entities within our county that are trying to raise our property taxes for getting extra money in other areas that aren't as visible to us. So anyway, that's probably longer than I should have. The 101 is we either keep the tax amount, which means we go in the hole. We aren't able to keep up with inflation on maintaining our infrastructure. We keep the tax rate, which allows us to stay with inflation, or we adjust it somewhere between those, and that's what we chose to do this time, to not hold to the rate or to the tax, but just something that would allow us to, at least for this coming year, maintain with the current expected inflation rate.
Well said, Lynn.
Good job, Lynn. Anyone want to add to that, or?
So the only thing I would add, and it's going back to a little bit of what Mr. Grant said, eventually, I think the city is going to be faced, if we don't get a larger revenue stream. If you take the average house being 560,000, the current rate we're proposing, we bring in $712 per home. And that's at it's $392 per home. And that nowhere near covers the cost for those homes to be here. So we can bring in a lot of new homes, but that increased property tax of $392 on average. Some homes are more, some homes are different, but that's our average right now. It is, and I don't remember, Brandon gave the figure years ago. We're not even close to half of what that expense is for that home for the city. So we get sales tax, but most of our sales tax revenues from the county, because we have very, very little sales tax in the city. And then that's really our revenue streams. We don't have any other revenue streams. So if we do what past councils have done and just freeze it and keep letting it stay down at that lower rate of, like Quinn said, $100,000 and keeping it down there, we'll end up in a hole so bad that we have to do another 100% or 200% property. I mean, all of us have tried to figure out, what is that magic number going to be when we're at full build out? What does it cost the city to maintain this? And that is a very hard number to come up with. We've asked for it. We tried to figure it out. So far we haven't figured that number out, but this is actually a reduction from what we had originally thought we would do by just maintaining the percentage at the 00152. It's a very, very low percentage of your property taxes to reduce it to the 00123 or 273. So anyway, that's just further explanation, maybe, that we're already in the hole per household.
Okay, thanks, Blair.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any?
I'll tell you, this has been very difficult for me. I despise taxes. I despise raising them. I despise them actually being on our property, although it's probably the most fair out of all of the taxes that they have come up with. And when I had a friend tell me that you come in here for this position with your politics, and my politics, I've said before, I'm libertarian, and I do not like taxes at all. But once you get in here, now you have a responsibility for everybody else in the city. And the thoughts that keep going through my mind on both ends is, we have fixed income families that they're not going to get any more money. That's what fixed means. And if we take $35 away from them, they don't get it back. And eventually it's always just going to be a debt that keeps eating away into it. And I've looked up, both the state of Utah and Davis County does have tax relief for seniors. So I do recommend, if there is anybody out there that is having too much problem with this, you can always file for that, and that does help. And there's some other programs that I've heard that may be coming through the legislator for help on that. But the other side is I just keep on looking at, as a city, we've banded together to provide the services for everybody. And in my mind, with gas being as high as it is, if we stick with the exact same budget, we're in the same boat as people at their own homes. And I see the silliness of having snow plows with no gas because we've already used up all the budget for it. And I know that that's not going to happen, but it's that same kind of, it's a very easy way to show we also don't get money. We don't have a credit card. We can bond for things, but we can't just borrow from one another to be able to get this going. And I think the inflation that we're facing is actually going to be quite a bit higher. And I think next year, when we look at this again, we're all going to be seeing much higher inflation than what we really are being told right now. So I do understand the smaller increase, and it makes sense for the city to be able to function. And we're not talking about getting extras in anything. We're just talking about functioning. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'll echo what everybody else has already said. I appreciate the public who's come out and asked questions and given comment and tried to understand. And Quinn's example, I call it holding the dollar and holding the rate. That's the way that it makes sense in my brain. But you know, that's when you see those large 100% tax increase. Nobody likes to see those. And so I came in, that tax increase, the 100% was in 2019. I came in 2020. And it was a discussion then of not wanting to have to do that again, 100% tax increase, to try and stay. And we're still at like 2002 levels or something. We're still pretty far below where we really should be. But just as an example of some things where this money could go, we have a sidewalk on 1900 East, perhaps you're near that area, that is incomplete, right at the top of the bluff where it's really dangerous. Typically in the past, we've been able to get state grants for things such as sidewalk projects and things, and that program changed. And while the grants are still available, they're much more difficult to get. So we put some bids out to have these projects fixed, and they came back about 3 times over budget, if I'm remembering right. We got two bids back, and they were way over our budget. Without that grant money, the city needs to be able to pay for that. We didn't go forward with those projects. I mean, those bids were just way too high. We didn't have the money for it, and hopefully that will come down and we're able to get more bids. But that's just one place where these extra tax dollars can go to give a sidewalk in a place that needs it, and some repairs to roads that need it, in funds that we won't see in other places. So I would agree with what Joel said. We're just trying to stay with maintenance. It's not about trying to, bring in the most amount of money, but where we are limited in commercial and we are a small city, we need to consider that eventually our impact fees will run out, our main revenue will run out if we don't get more viable commercial. And we're going to continue to see these property taxes increase. It's just unfortunately the way cities business goes. So that's all.
Okay. You want to, any
I'll
comment?
I'll just say I agree with everybody. It's really hard when you are the steward of everyone's money in the city. You have to make sure you're making the best decisions for everybody. So this, I appreciate the discussion we had tonight, because it's important. It's good to educate, and we're not trying to take more than we need. Like you said, we're behind where we should be. So I support it.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for tonight, isn't it? No other discussion needs to be made. We'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming. We wish we had more people.